Let's get to it, right? And listen, Saad, I'm going to tee you up because I know you cover this team a lot. When it comes to the way that the Stars were able to pull off that win through those frenetic last few moments, what sticks out to you?
Jake Ottinger. I mean, you know, I think when you begin with whatever this series was, and especially Game 7, Jake Ottinger in the biggest moments, and you know, we're talking about Game 7, but also I'm talking about the third periods and overtime throughout the entire series. In the biggest moments, Jake Ottinger comes through in the biggest ways. I think it starts with Jake Ottinger for me, especially in Game 7. But how can you not talk about Wyatt Johnston as well? It takes, you know, you can put a 0 on the scoreboard, but you still got to score goals. And Wyatt Johnston, the 20-year-old, was otherworldly throughout this entire series. I think I saw a stat out there. He had 31 scoring chances, and, you know, the next best on Dallas had half of that. So Wyatt Johnston, the 20-year-old second-year player who was drafted in the first round in 2021, was absolutely phenomenal. By the way, his draft mate, Logan Stankoven, who was drafted in the second round of that same year, also phenomenal and was bumped up to the top line for Game 7. Crazy to think that his season began in the AHL, and here he was on the top line in a Game 7 against the defending champs. So for me, it's Wyatt Johnston on the offensive side and Jake Ottinger holding him down back in the net.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. Hopefully nothing's wrong with our IFB, with our connection there to Jonah. Jonah, can you hear us now?
I've got you now. I couldn't hear a thing you were saying earlier, and I was hoping you weren't going to throw it out to me and be like, Jonah, what do you think? And I'd be like, what's happening?
I've got you now, Joe. In the sports office.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to hear from Joe. Hey, no, seriously, Jonah, you were in the barn for all of the craziness, all of the euphoria. What will you take from it?
The energy, first and foremost. I just absolutely love Game 7s. To me, they're the greatest thing we have in professional sports. The winner-take-all atmosphere here at the AAC was fantastic. Stars fans, they might not be known across the country, but they were. For us here in town, we know how strong that fan base is. As for the game itself, Pete DeBoer, man, I mean, I know he's got a ton of great players, and their lineup goes super deep of guys who can score the puck. But 8-0 in Game 7s as a head coach in the NHL, at some point it's not a coincidence. And 8-0 speaks to how he's able to rally his guys. And so to be able to do this tonight against that team after being down 2-0, incredible job by Pete. Those are the two things I'll take from it, the atmosphere and the job Pete did to get to 8-0 in Game 7s.
And I don't want to forget about the captain, Jamie Benn, right? Because there were moments in this game when you just needed a show of force. You needed to let the defending champions know that you weren't going to go away, even after you fell in that deep hole down 2 games, losing both of them on your home ice. So there were a few times there when he made sure that his presence was felt in the right way, and I won't forget that either. That was great stuff too. And while we got you here, Saad, I'm curious about when you think about what the Knights were able to do. Was there a moment when there was some trepidation that you thought, because they were the defending champs, that they would have that resurrection moment like great villains do and come back and haunt the Stars?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First, Joe, I just have to piggyback on your point because it's an excellent point about Jamie Benn. And to me, that moment, though, came a couple of games ago when Logan Stankoven got hit real bad. It was a clean hit by the Golden Knights. It was all good. Just 2 seconds after Logan Stankoven got flattened, Jamie Benn came and delivered his own crushing hit to the player that did that. So I think you're absolutely right. Jamie Benn was absolutely huge in Game 7, but also just throughout the entire series. And in terms of the Golden Knights, look, you have to respect their veteran presence that they have throughout the lineup. A lot was made about the LTIR rules and how they were, maybe bending them a little bit. And to be honest, to the point that I think Mark Stone, even though he was on LTIR, he came back, but you could tell that he hadn't played hockey in 2 months because there were times where he looked winded. And I was just surprised. I think the one thing for Vegas that stands out to me, I was just surprised about the decision to go from Logan Thompson to Adin Hill in net. And I don't think Adin Hill really cost them the series in any way. He played solid. He was fine. But that would just kind of let me know that there was something going on. There was something that was rattled with the Golden Knights, that they felt that their goaltender, who was absolutely fantastic throughout the games he played, they felt that they had to make a switch to a guy who was struggling down the stretch, albeit, led them to a cup last year.
Yeah, great points, one and all. And, Andrew, by the way, I want to make sure everyone knows and understands that Andrew was as engaged here in the sports office as any Stars fan was inside the AAC. He was absolutely locked in and had a fantastic night covering that game tonight.
And you absolutely called it, though. First goal made the biggest difference. They were playing with the lead the whole game through.